Welcome to Do Ghosts Be Real? This is a podcast where we are going to investigate famous hauntings. We're going to investigate all kinds of ghost stuff. We're going to go wild. We're going to be all over the paranormal world, just looking into it, trying to determine, do ghosts be real? I am Spencer.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Simon.
Yeah, and welcome to our inaugural podcast here. We're going to be having a good time. It might be a little bit rusty off the hop here because we are not professional broadcasters. We are new to the podcast world for the most part.
So if you're listening to this, I mean, what are you doing? But thank you. We appreciate it.
We're very happy to have you
You
here.
know, we appreciate the support and the love that you are going to give us. I myself am big into the supernatural. I love supernatural stuff. You know, I love ghosts. I get on nasty tangents where I will just watch ghost videos all night long, and I cannot help myself.
And I am somewhere in the middle where I am not. So Brett is a full believer. You're 100% on board.
I love it. I love this stuff.
You 100% believe that ghosts do be real.
Ghosts, in fact, do be real.
I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm not so sure if ghosts be real or not. I like to say that ghosts do not be real, but also if I find myself on something like a Nuke's Top 5 or any other ghost hunting channels, I don't know whether that's a bunch of fancy After Effects magic or what that is. I like to think that it's not real, but if I'm watching it, I'm going to be walking around looking over my shoulder when I'm in my dark house, and I'm not going to be looking at mirrors. So do I believe that ghosts be real? I'm not so sure. Am I just saying that ghosts do not be real because I'm afraid of them? Is that what it is?
I think that might be it.
That might be it.
I don't know. I'm a bit more on the skeptic side. I'm intrigued by the paranormal, and I want to learn more about it. Like, I've seen some weird shit in my life that I can't really explain sometimes too, and so, I don't necessarily think it's completely out of the realm of possibility, but I also consider myself a bit more on the scientific side, and I like to be able to explain things. You know what I mean?
For sure. Like, when you experience something weird, like you've said, I've experienced tons of weird things in my life that I can't explain.
Yeah.
There's no scientific way of which this could happen. Like, seeing people that aren't there, that will just show up, and then you'll run and try to find them around a corner and they're not there. What's happened to me?
You sound like you're spending a lot of time doing this sort of stuff.
I work night shift. Things get a little wild on the night shift.
Things get a little spooky. Whether they're getting spooky in your brain or actually in the building, who's to say?
And that's the question.
At 3 a.m., things get very spooky. And ghosts do be real when you're working night shift. Let me tell you that.
So anyway, this episode we're not going to have any sort of particular, we're not going to have a topic this episode. Our next episode, we've picked the topic of the Winchester house, which is a famous, I guess you could say, haunted house or area of, it's a spot that is of...
It's more of a family curse, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I'm excited for that. I'm excited to talk about that.
We can touch on it a little bit now, just as a little
sure.
teaser for
and we'll
everybody.
let you take that because, Simon watched the movie. I have some idea of kind of what's going on just from watching all kinds of weird History Channel shows and all that sort of stuff. But you have fallen deep into the hole.
The
You're
rabbit
really
hole.
interested in this one.
Yeah, it's just an interesting concept. It was one of those things where I didn't know much about it, and then I had watched a YouTube video where there was something on it. There was something that I watched where they were talking about it, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. And I did a bit of a deep dive, and it turns out what it was is Winchester rifles is what we're talking about. Their family is supposedly cursed, so if they're cursed by the ghosts of the people that the rifles killed is essentially is the whole thing behind it.
Yeah.
And that family, if you look at it through historical lens, you'll see that they are in fact cursed. They just seem to be dropping like flies. None of them have lived long lives.
They met some untimely ends.
Yes.
Now, are they cursed or are they just tremendously unlucky? Are they just leaning into it maybe by chance?
I mean, I don't know if I call them unlucky. They were almost billionaires, so
they're doing fine.
They had some real resources there, like
they had fuck you money.
Yeah,
so to speak.
you think if you have $500 million, you can find your way to safety if you need to.
And when was that $500 million? Is that $500 million in
that's
today's money?
That's in today's money.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
they like the widow of Mr. Winchester inherited, I think it was about $26 million, something
Right.
like that. And in today's money, it'd be about $550 million.
Wow.
In
So,
US. Yeah.
so from my understanding with the whole case, is she went to a psychic because this was like turn of the century kind of thing, right? And they still believed a lot in that kind of stuff.
Now, some people
Yep.
still do.
And me,
At the time, you could be prescribed cocaine.
yeah,
Yeah.
which would be
Pretty cool.
not something that I would need.
People, what you're saying is people were having a good
People
Yeah,
were
they were
wilding
having a
out a
good
little
time.
bit.
They were
People
having a
were
good time.
wilding out a little bit.
Yeah.
But what had happened is she went to a psychic, and the psychic said, the reason why your family is dying and meeting untimely ends is because they're being haunted and killed by these ghosts from the rifles that have killed them. So she said the only way to stop this was to continually build onto your mansion. And that way the ghosts get scared and confused and they can't find you. That's the whole reason why she did it in the first place. So every year there was always construction going on in the house.
Right, and is this myth, do we know this for sure? Didn't the psychic say something to the effect of, like, once you stop building, you will die? Was that what it was, or am I making
I
that
believe
up?
so.
I think
yes.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I don't know if this is how it actually was, but in the movie,
In the Hollywood
anyways,
movie, which
yeah.
we are actually going to be using as the basis for all of our research.
Oh, not me.
That's not
I
true.
will be.
No,
I will be
no.
looking this up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just
substantially.
having fun here, folks. I'm
Yeah.
just goofing about.
Oh yeah. In the extremely highly produced movie, they made it so that she could talk to the ghosts, and she had to build these rooms that were the rooms that they died in. And then they could live in the rooms in the house where they died in, and they could come to terms with their death. And then once they moved on, she demolished the rooms and started building new ones.
That's wild.
Yeah,
No,
so that's what they
see-
said. I don't know if there's
see,
any truth to
I
that.
don't think there is because like
It was based on a
yeah
true story.
the thing
Not
the
actually.
thing that's very wild about this place.
It was based on a true story in the
Yeah,
sense that
loosely
the
based.
characters,
Loosely.
there was a Winchester and there was a house that was
Exactly.
That's pretty much
exactly.
Hollywood in a nutshell.
Exactly.
Right.
And just for the listeners, I personally hate horror movies. I cannot watch them. They scared the shit out of me. Like jump scares, any of that stuff, I hate them. I hate them so much. I can't watch them. I'm such a baby. But when it comes to ghost videos, all day, baby.
Oh,
All
man.
day. Let's see some shadow people.
You're going to
Let's-
sleep to those things, are you
Oh
not?
yeah, I'm falling asleep on my couch to this stuff.
You told me to watch the one channel that you really like is Nuke's Top 5.
Yes.
You told me to check that out. And I gotta tell you, looking at the thumbnails, I really didn't want to watch those videos because it's always like somebody with a face like this.
Just let the Macaulay Culkin
Yeah,
face.
they're doing the Macaulay Culkin Home Alone face, and it just looked so brutally clickbaity.
Yeah.
But they're very well done videos. This guy combs YouTube. He goes through all the ghost hunting channels, and he like makes contact with people. He talks to like people who've made the videos. He's always doing extra research, and he's built these great compilations. And they'll be like ghost hunting videos from the Middle East, from the States, from China, and it's interesting actually to see. And now whether they're real or not, I'm not entirely certain. But there are some that
They're
are
real.
certainly convinced. He says they're real. There are some that are very convincing and would have been hard to fake, and then there are others that are just very clearly after effects. But the thing that I find the most fascinating about all those videos is the cultural divide and the way that people in different areas of the world actually do ghost hunting. Like in the Chinese videos, apparently culturally in China, when you encounter a ghost, to make them go away, you're supposed to curse them. So often you're hearing those ghost hunters screaming "fuck your mother"
Wow.
at the ghosts.
Like-
Wow, I
like
did not know that.
repeatedly. It's
in the
very
Middle Eastern videos, they're always praying. They
Yeah.
pray through the whole
Wow.
thing, and then of course, the heathenistic, cultureless Americans and Canadians who are doing the ghost things. There tends to be less ritual. To
Sure,
it.
yeah.
That seems to be an entirely personal decision. There's a lot of praying and screaming and swearing in those ones too, but I don't think that there's actually a cultural reason for it.
No.
The interesting thing about this, though, is that, like you just said, this happens all over the world.
Yeah.
Like, there are ghost stories going back thousands of years in, like, every culture. So there's got to be something going on there, right?
It's not a new phenomenon.
And it's like, especially now with video equipment, audio equipment, they're able to pick up more and more of these weird occurrences.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas back in the day, you could just say you saw
Yeah,
something.
you just have to
and
go-
then there was no proof.
Exactly. You can just go tell the guy at the bar that you hang out with that you saw something crazy, and he's gonna be like, oh, okay, like maybe.
He either chose to believe you, or you were, you know,
Yeah.
and depending on maybe your level of repute in the town, whether you were the town drunk who had to get pushed out with a broom every night, he might not believe you, or maybe you're like, you know, a character of high repute where they're like, oh, there might
Maybe.
be some, there might be
Maybe.
something to this one.
Yep, maybe.
I think the coolest part about the whole thing is the idea that when you pass on, it's not just nothing.
Yeah.
I think that's what people love about believing in this sort of thing. Is it almost gives you a sense of security
It's
of knowing
fun,
that
right?
when you die,
and it's fun too.
you're not just gone.
You're
Absolutely.
like, well, you know what? If I die and I come back as a ghost, I am going to bother my friends.
I'm gonna haunt some motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's pretty much that's if I go early, you best believe I'm gonna be moving dishes on your guys' cabinet. It's gonna be annoying.
You're gonna be tossing some tchotchkes around.
Yeah.
You're gonna be knocking my figures off my shelves.
Dude,
All
I'm
my
gonna
fun toys.
I'm gonna make your cat freak out.
Oh no! Oh man, the amount of times in the middle of the night that I've got a cat, you've got a cat,
Yeah.
you've got a dog. You know where your pet is just like staring at something
Yeah,
intently.
they're just staring in a corner.
Oh my
That happens all the time, and my cat just like sits there and she's like
I don't
just
like
just
it.
laser focused on something. I'm like, what are you looking at?
I don't like that
Like,
at all.
like, is there something I can't
You
see?
know,
It's 4 a.m. Calm down. You're freaking me
I
out.
think the thing I hate the most is when my dog comes downstairs and she lays in my doorway. And I have a 4-level split, right? So it's like my basement and then a sub basement underneath that.
A spooky sub basement.
It
is spooky.
At
It is.
night,
I can
it's just
attest
like
to it. I don't like it.
you open if you leave the door open and you're looking out of it, it's just an open hole to nothing.
Wow.
So it's just very like spooky looking.
Right.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it when my dog lays in the entryway and she's just sitting there staring down the stairs. It's like, what are you looking at?
Yeah.
Why do you keep doing that? I hate this.
What is down there?
Do you ever walk into the entryway and just stare at what she's staring, or would that be too much? I don't think I'd do it. I don't think I'd test it, because there's one movie that I saw in particular. I'm like an avid fan of horror movies.
Sure.
I'm not I haven't actually consumed a lot of paranormal media in the sense of like real ghost hunting or anything like that. I remember watching on TV. I didn't grow up with cable or anything like that.
Me neither.
And I remember going to like a hotel and seeing like, I forget what it was called, like Ghost Hunters or something. They had a team called Taps, and they would go into all kinds of weird places. And I'd watch that stuff. I'd either be at a hotel on a vacation with my family,
Sure.
or maybe, you know, at my grandma's laying on her waterbed, just consuming as much TV as I possibly could. But for the most part, as far as like actual paranormal, supposedly real ghost hunting stuff, that's probably the extent of what I've really
Sure.
ingested. But I have ingested hours upon hundreds and hundreds of hours of like horror movies and, you know, stuff adjacent to that. There's a movie called The Conjuring. There's a movie series called The Conjuring, and have either of you guys seen this one?
I have not. My girlfriend insists that I watch it with her. We're gonna get there. I'm also a bit of a pussy when it comes to horror
I'm
movies.
too scared.
See, those are fun movies. That attached to the Conjuring series are the Annabelle movies, which are nowhere near as good. Annabelle is actually teased in, I think, teased in both Conjuring movies. Both of the Conjuring movies are actually very, whether they're good or not is up to your personal taste. I think they are good. I think as far as like horror movies in the last decade, the best ones, without a doubt, the cream of the crop, which is also a paranormal movie, and this one will, because you guys are a little bit of, as you
Skittish.
said, I'm not going to take words out of, I'm not going to put words in
Skittish.
your mouth, as you guys are both, you said you were a pussy, and I'm going to put you in that territory
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, a big time.
Just because I'm being
Big time.
being a ding dong, and I'm being mean to my friends.
Oh, big time. I hate jump scares more than anything.
Spookiest movie, the best paranormal horror movie that has come out in a decade is Hereditary. Directed by Ari Aster. That movie is bonkers, and we're gonna get you guys watching it for sure.
Oh.
But anyway, I'm on a tangent. Back to The Conjuring. The reason I wouldn't look down in that basement hole of yours, that scary sub basement hole where Kenzie the dog is staring off. I'm doxing your dog.
That's
I'm
fine.
giving her name out. There is a character in the Conjuring movies called the Black Nun, which is a demon called Valak.
Okay.
And the thing about this demon is it's got these piercing yellow eyes that are always staring at you. And after seeing those Conjuring movies, I couldn't look down a dark hallway for a while because I consistently thought I was seeing those glowing iridescent eyes. They're like cat eyes, but they're like yellow. And like the jump scares that came from that character were horrific. And I still, like, sometimes if I'm having a bad night, or maybe if I've ingested a little bit of psychoactive lettuce or something like that, I really don't like looking down the hallway, and I really don't like looking at mirrors out of fear of seeing the Black Nun.
I got a bit of a story for you.
Okay, so before you launch into that, let's preface this by saying this intro episode, we're going to talk about some of our experiences and give some
and
context.
this is exactly what I'm about to do.
Because I know you're going to go deep, and I'm going to shut my mouth and let you go off, but I know you're going to get into it.
So this kind of happened quite a few years ago. I was a teenager, and I thought I was crazy for the longest time until I talked to my sister, right? So I talked to my sister. We were talking about ghosts and spooky stuff because we're both interested in that kind of stuff. And I'm currently sleeping in the room she used to sleep in.
Sure.
And I said, hey, just out of nowhere, hey, does the time 3:13 in the morning mean anything to you? And she just went white. And she looked at me and she said, are there people around your bed?
Oh, no.
Oh,
And I said, yep.
I don't like where this is going.
Yeah. So when I was a teenager, I would wake up at 3:13 every night. And there would be people. They kind of looked like people, but they were a little like opaque. And I thought for the longest time I was like crazy, or
having some sort of paralysis,
weird sleep paralysis dream.
Yeah.
But I was able to move during the other time, and it actually, when it stopped, and it actually made my eyes water when you mentioned that demon with the piercing yellow eyes.
Oh boy.
One night I woke up
I don't like this.
and there was just something standing in my bed, like standing I couldn't make out the figure. Yellow eyes,
like a shadowy
piercing yellow eyes.
No!
Oh my god! And like I freaked out. I started swearing and screaming at it.
He took the Chinese approach of
Exactly.
He was cursing it away. Did you tell it, fuck your mother?
No, I was just screaming and yelling, and the thing went into my sub basement, laughing at me.
Oh no!
And then
It made
just
noise?
disappeared. Yeah, it laughed.
And now
Oh my
this
God.
Audibly laughed like a human laugh.
That is
though.
the worst thing
But
that it
it
could do.
scared me senseless, and ever since then there was nobody coming around my bed anymore. So I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, am I going crazy? Like, what's going on?
What the hell's going on here?
And the thing was, I later found out from my sister because my sister's much older than I am.
Yeah, your sisters have they both
Got
have
some
like
years
a
on me.
decade out,
Yeah.
almost a decade on you. Right?
So I was about 3 when this happened, and my sister would have been about 13. And our little sub basement, there's stairs coming down from the main level.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then there's a little crawl space in there.
Okay.
And she was having a birthday party, and they were playing Truth or Dare, and one of the dares was to go into that crawl space.
No. Oh.
So one of them went into the crawl space. You know what they found in there?
No.
Doesn't belong to anybody in my family. There was a Ouija board in there.
Had
my
anyone
God.
been into that crawl space prior? Was that something that was explored, or was that just...
That was nothing that was explored. Like,
So no one
usually
had
we
been
would
in
just
there.
use it for storage. Like, now it's used for storage.
How long had you guys owned the house by that point?
Yeah.
If I was 3...
Was that
probably
the first
about,
house you came into?
Yeah, probably about 5-6 years maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
But that was just kind of like storage, like
Yeah.
things were at the front.
So that must have just
So
been
it-
something left
it
behind
was
by a
Yeah.
previous
it was
owner.
dared to go all the way to the back.
Wow.
Oh, and that's where they found
that's
it.
where
It
they
wasn't just
found
like
it.
in the middle of the
No.
floor, like a trope in a shitty movie.
No,
So-
it was all the way at the back.
So in the past, someone had taken a Ouija board way into the back of this creepy crawl space.
So
And used
and
it.
the question is why? What's the point of it, right?
Somebody
Like
was
why
goofing
try to
off.
hide
Yeah.
it, right? And so what ended up happening is they were playing with it.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about Ouija boards,
Which I don't. I like to
know
think
a little bit.
I like to think that they are not real and they're based on some sort of subconscious desire, but I also refuse to. I've never used one. I will state completely out of fear, despite the fact that I'm going to deny that they're real. I haven't used one because they are freaky, and also I just don't want to. I don't want to do it in my house. I think I would do it, but I don't want to do it here.
No.
I also don't want anything to follow me at home, but I also don't think it's real,
But,
which
you
are
know,
very contradictory statements.
The thing is with Ouija boards, if you know anything about them, right, you're supposed to talk to spirits with it, which is cool. Like, whatever.
That's nifty. We like that.
But the thing is,
We don't like it.
is you have to say hello. So you put your little cursor on
Yeah,
on that,
there's a hello thing, isn't there?
right? And then the spirits, quote unquote, talk to you through the board.
Sure.
Well, they were using it, and the peg, none of them were touching it, started going crazy on the board.
The planchette.
Yes, flung off the board and stuck into the wall. I can show you in my room where it stuck into the wall.
Wow.
And then they screamed, obviously.
Yeah.
And my dad, not playing games, got mad because I'm 3 years old. I'm sleeping, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Ran downstairs, saw that they were playing with it, and just threw it out.
So they never said
They
goodbye.
never said goodbye. So my house, up until recently, has just been open.
Wow.
It's been open season.
So you think they've opened some sort of a vortex or a
It's some sort of
to
portal,
another-
sort of
whatever you want to
gateway.
call it. It's
Yeah.
some sort of weird. So I think that's why I was having people, because it wasn't just like ghosts. It was people. I think the hardest thing for me, and this sounds as gross and crazy as I possibly can make it, and I'm not trying to do this by any stretch. I'm just telling you what I saw.
Sure.
Hey, you're just being
It
honest with me.
was
Yeah.
people that were like, a lot of them were maimed. Like a lot
Oh.
of them, it wasn't like old timey people.
They
It was
met-
like it was people in modern day clothing.
That met a dark end.
Yes, but they were all maimed and fucked up.
Ooh.
And like, imagine waking up to that every day.
Yeah.
That's frightening.
It
I don't like
terrified
that.
me.
I
But
don't
you
like
know,
that.
the only thing I could think of doing, as dumb as this sounded at the time, I was like, well, what if I just like said a prayer?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I'm not a religious person by any stretch of the matter. So I did that, and they go away after that. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I did that, and then suddenly, you know, that one night,
Yeah.
because I started to do a prayer, you know, and it started laughing at me.
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
hysterically
That's
laughing
that's
at me.
horrible.
That's
And
fucked
it
up.
I don't like
scared,
that.
it scared me so bad. And like, ever since that point, I kind of turned off the idea of like supernatural stuff. It's only recently that I really wanted to get back into it because I want to know.
Yeah.
Like that's the
You
thing.
want to know if that be real or whether you're a wild dreamer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like either I'm going crazy and just losing my mind, or ghosts do be real.
Oh man.
And I think we like to think that ghosts do be real.
That is the
we
whole
do
premise of
we
the
do
show.
like to think that ghosts do be real, but we also are very frightened. of
Yeah,
ghosts.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, it's
terrified.
just it's natural to be scared of things that you can't explain and certainly can't control, right? Like, but you know, we don't know that much about the world. You know, we like to think that human science has advanced so far, but really, when it comes right down to it, we don't know shit. So we don't know what's going on. We don't know if there is something else out there.
Yeah, and that's kind of the neat part about this whole concept, is we get to do research. We get to do our own research.
And we're the foremost paranormal investigators. We are
Oh,
the
yes.
foremost paranormal
From what I
researchers, or we
understand,
will
yes.
become
Yes.
the foremost
from
paranormal
what I
researchers.
understand, totally.
So what did you like after that thing happened where that figure disappeared in your sub basement? What did you do to deal with that? Did you just like stop thinking about it and it stopped happening, or did you like do
So-
something to stop it? Because I think you were telling me something about like, did you burn some sage in your house or something like that?
So
Or?
what had happened was, it wasn't completely gone away,
Right.
but there was like, I couldn't see it, but
You
I don't know if you guys have ever had this feeling, but it's like a gut feeling in your sternum
Yeah, I've had that.
when you
feeling.
have that. It's
Like
and
you're being watched.
yeah, it's kind of like that.
I've had that.
But it's also a feeling in your sternum. It's like a heavy feeling.
It's your gut telling you something's wrong.
Yeah, something's up.
Yeah.
Anytime I'd walk by that sub basement stairway,
Which you're doing quite frequently, because
Frequently.
you live in the regular basement.
Yes.
So every single day you're walking past
I
that.
had to walk by it.
And there is a
I
like
would-
full-fledged gym down there as well.
Yes, but I would get that feeling every single day.
Yeah.
And you know, I've since made friends with some people that are more supernaturally inclined. If you guys want to believe that or not, that is totally your
Right.
decision. But there are rituals you can do to close and or trap these spirits,
Okay.
because whatever spirit was at that stairwell
Yeah, yeah.
was not a good one. It was a very
It doesn't
malicious
sound like
one.
a good one. It laughing
No.
at you? That's
No,
menacing.
That
but
sounds.
here's the thing.
Yeah, that sounds terrifying.
That one wasn't the one.
Okay.
So this guy, and my sister had told me about this. This guy was from. She would wake up, or not even wake up. She would be awake. She'd be laying on her bed, and it's like something would pin her down.
Oh, goodness.
And she would have scratch marks on her too, right?
Well,
While
that's
she was
frightening.
awake.
Yeah, while she was awake, like not even asleep or anything like that. And so this thing, whatever the fuck it was, liked to prey on women.
Oh, okay.
It always made me feel uneasy.
Has your mom ever had anything to say about this?
My mother does not believe in the supernatural at all, and it's mostly like a situation like you, where she is.
She also
afraid
lives in
of
the
it.
upper region of the home. She's
Yes.
not in the lower. She's not in the dungeon section.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
But like, she very much like didn't want to believe it because like
Yeah.
the unknown
well, why,
is scary.
Why would you want to
Yeah.
believe it?
But a lot of my female friends would tell me like, hey, I feel uncomfortable walking by that stairwell.
There are like I can attest to because like we've been buddies since grade 5. That's when you came to my school, and we've been pals ever since then. You live very close to that school, so we would walk to your house for lunch quite frequently, and I can attest to the fact that there is something kind of like that sub basement is kind of frightening, whether it be that I don't know that I could put my finger right on it, but just like the pitch black, because there are no windows in that area. Are there?
There are,
They're maybe
but
just
at
covered.
the time they were covered. Now,
Okay.
now they're open, so it's a little
Really?
lighter, but it's still an uncomfortable.
There's like the whir of fridges and stuff like that down there, and like it was pitch black in my recollection.
Yes, it was.
Anytime I went down there, and I recall like we spent a lot of time down in that basement room because playing PlayStation in your room, that sort of stuff. And I can recall going down there to get a caffeine-free Diet Coke a time or
yes.
two, and you telling me to go down there, and I never liked walking down there
No.
to go to that fridge
especially
by myself.
right by the stairs, right?
Yeah, and like
That uncomfortable, heavy feeling.
Makes you
I've been
feel-
one. Oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say it just makes you feel unsettled.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I've been one of those guys that shoots upstairs. Like
Yeah.
I've gotten better about that in my old age of 27 and owning my own home. I've gotten to the point now where I don't just launch myself up the stairs
Sure.
anymore. But those stairs, I shot up like a rocket, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know that I would change that now.
So like I was saying to you before.
Yeah, sorry,
I had a friend come and close everything off.
right.
And it was the weirdest thing because in order to do that, you have to get in touch with the spirit
You
world.
had
we'll
to talk
call
to your
it.
pal.
And so when we did it, we did all that stuff.
So did you bring a board back in, or what did you do?
No, there's.
If you don't want to go into full detail,
it's
that's fine.
It's
but-
very specific herbs and stuff like that.
Okay.
You essentially like almost sprinkle a line,
yeah.
and then that traps whatever is there inside that area, and it cannot leave.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
it's a very weird thing. And then smudging, of course.
Yeah.
It tends to work. But when she did that, and then she like communicated with the spirit realm, because she's got a little bit of the touch, if you will, if you believe it or not. I don't
Right.
know. She touched me, and it literally felt like I got shocked with electricity.
That's
Like,
wild.
From my shoulder, through my chest, and out the other hand.
Yeah.
And it felt like at the time when she was touching me, it felt like I could see someone behind me. And you know how my room's laid out. There's like the
Yeah.
couch and the two chairs.
It's nuts.
It was
is
like-
a very strange room.
It was like someone
It's
was
multiple rooms that are
so for the camera.
combined.
The best way I can say it, it's like someone was standing right there, but there wasn't enough space for them to stand.
Right.
But they were just like hovering over me. It was a very weird feeling.
You just got that sense that there's someone like a presence,
like,
sort
not
of
just
behind
one.
around you.
Multiple.
Interesting.
So it was a very weird thing because like if this was a portal, well, everything that was in my house needs to go away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want all those guys down there.
No.
So it was dealt with, and like that's just one of my many
Sure.
stories of
So do you think the house feels better now?
the house feels less heavy, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't
Okay.
get that heavy feeling when you're walking down the stairs anymore.
That makes sense.
So by the end of this podcast, we may be switching around, and I say end, I don't mean end. I mean as we get deeper into this thing, because ideally we're not gonna, we have no end in sight. We're gonna keep this thing going. We want to be releasing this sucker on a weekly basis for you lovely people to listen to and look at. But by the end of this thing, or throughout this thing, we're either going to get to the point where we're going to want to put you in a padded jacket and lock you up because you're nuts, or we're all going to believe, or it could be a mixture of all those things.
Maybe we'll buy 3 padded jackets.
We might be buying 3 padded jackets, and our
it's
various
very
partners
possible.
are going to be sending us to a facility.
Hey man, I'm single. It's fine.
Who's going to send you to a facility? You're a free boy.
Yeah, that's right. You can't stop me. I will not be stopped.
Oh man.
No, I love the idea of this podcast because there are so many ghost stories that we can look at.
Yeah.
And I know there are some that are complete and utter nonsense. I realize that for every real encounter, there's 200 fake ones, right?
Yeah.
So it's very much picking through the weeds and the shaft, because we might end up finding a topic that we're like unanimously, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, or at least we can't debunk it.
Yeah.
Or, we'll find one and go, this is complete bullshit.
Yeah,
These
for
people
sure.
are lying. They just want attention.
And I think we're going to try to find the ones that we can't explain, because those make the best stories.
They're the most fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Simon, have you had any sort of like weird encounters or anything like that you can't explain, or anything that pops to the front of your brain when you think about it?
I've had a few things. In my grandma's house, we used to hang out in the basement. As you do in your grandma's house, we would sit around the TV and watch movies and stuff. And there were some bookshelves down there. And there was just always, I know this sounds kind of silly, but there was always books on the floor, in front of this bookshelf. On the, I can picture it. On the right-hand side, books would just always fall off the shelf, and there seemed to be no reason for it. And my grandma always said that there was a ghost that liked to read, and that was like its favorite books over there.
I like that.
Yeah,
That's
and
fun.
she would just say that it would just continuously knock books. It was just the one corner; it would always just fall off. But it's not like the bookshelf was bent or anything. Like it was a normal bookshelf, and they would just always fall off.
Did the books change, or were they always the same books?
Well, she would always put them back in the same spot. So maybe whoever was occupying that space just really hated one book or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it really liked the book. I don't know. But yeah, it would just
either that or your grandma was playing a cute
yeah,
prank
she's
on you
just
guys.
messing with us. It was. I mean, I feel like she could have done a better job than she was. But
Grams love messing with people.
yeah, they do. And then the only other thing I can really think of is when I was camping in Tofino a couple years ago. I went down to the beach around 1:30 in the morning by myself just to go look at the stars. It was a cloudless night. There was no moon. It was like the perfect time to stargaze. And I'm lying down there on the beach, and I was there for probably almost 3 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, just taking it all in and enjoying the majesty of nature. And it was a warm night. I felt completely comfortable there, totally fine. And then suddenly, like a switch was flipped, just like that. And suddenly I got this like gut feeling that something was really wrong. And the hair on the back of my neck started to stand up, and the hair on my arm stood up. And I looked around. I was like, I can't see anything, of course, but I just got this feeling like something's really wrong. And then the temperature started to really drop. And of course, it is like 3 in the morning.
Yeah, for sure.
It makes sense. But yeah, like the temperature just plummeted, and it was weird. It went from 0 to 60 real quick, like suddenly everything was fine, and then the temperature dropped by like 10 degrees, and I just got this weird feeling like I just had to get the hell out of there. And I sat around for a few more minutes just to be like, oh, maybe I'm just being crazy. Maybe it'll just pass. But
maybe you're just having a panic attack.
Maybe I was just
or something.
panicking, yeah. But no, the feeling only got stronger. Like I just got this gut feeling like I needed to get out of there. So I grabbed my camera and I headed back to my tent, and that was that. My family thinks that it was just like some like a wolf was down there or something. Like
maybe
wolf
something was watching you.
Yeah,
Your natural
it could have been a
instincts kicked
predator.
in.
Yeah,
exactly.
for sure.
Like a cougar was down there or something, and my body just kind of picked up on it, and I was like,
Right.
I gotta get out of here.
You know what though? What's more fun is that a ghost was watching you.
Exactly.
That's what I prefer.
And-
because at least a ghost is not going to eat you.
See,
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know what I prefer.
Yeah, I don't know which of those I prefer, to be honest.
I don't like the idea of like the actual bodily harm risk of a predator.
Yeah.
But the idea that that it's completely explainable and not something weird and paranormal. I almost prefer that.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
ones where you have that, when you have that feeling in like a structure or like somewhere where you should be safe, that's especially like in that, the story that you had there, you were completely open to everything in nature.
Yeah.
So
I was definitely in a vulnerable position.
it's almost easier to explain as like
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
something was watching
For
you,
sure.
something living and breathing and completely scientifically explainable.
Absolutely. Also, that beach is they nickname it Wolf Highway because
Okay. Oh,
because
yeah.
the animals will use it to get around because Vancouver Island is literally a rainforest and the
Right.
like the not jungle but like the growth is so thick that getting through there is really not easy. And so if you want to traverse from one side to the other, like if you want to go 100 kilometers or something, it's much easier to do it on the beach.
That makes
So a
sense.
lot of animals will use the beach as like a freeway system kind
And
of
maybe
thing.
they were just waiting there because they saw your dumbass sitting there with
Exactly.
your camera doing a long exposure or
Yeah,
something like that, and they're like, we gotta wait
exactly.
for this guy to get out of here. Or maybe they're just waiting to snack on you.
Yeah, maybe they were
Like
snacking
the
on
tasty
me.
man morsel that you are.
That's-
Exactly.
See, animals scare me more than the supernatural because animals are unpredictable.
Yeah,
right?
believe me, like a cougar hiding in a tree would be the most terrifying thing.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
that would be.
that would be no good.
Haunt-
That would be very bad.
Haunt me till I'm old and gray.
Be all bad.
But cougars, please do not eat my delicious meat.
Cougars are no good. Cougars are motherfuckers.
Cougars are bad news.
Like, I feel like you could at least have some sort of a fighting chance against, like, let's say, like, because wolves hunt in packs. Do they not? I think,
yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know a lot about animal behavior.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good for you
That would
to
be
try
bad.
to.
that would be bad.
If it was a one-on-one with a wolf, I think you'd have a chance because that's just a big mean dog. That's
What-
no good.
but it's- I mean,
because that's
dude.
what I know. I know about animals.
We're
I
getting
don't
on
know
a
about
we're getting on a
animals.
tangent
Listen
here.
here.
I like this though.
But Spencer, have you ever been attacked by a cat? Cats are like 15 pounds
Yeah.
and they maul
And
you.
they will
That is
fuck
true.
you
They
up.
will fuck your
Like
shit up.
Yeah.
and a dog is like it's like an inbred wolf, and that
Yeah.
thing will still mess you up.
That, that is true. Okay.
Like a wolf is just packed with muscle. It's just muscle.
See, I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I think that the cougar is the worst because
yeah.
like cats, like a house cat, they're little. You can kind of like you can swat them
Yeah.
away and stuff, but they can really do some damage.
Oh yeah.
You
Whereas
know-
like in dogs seem to be like they can really fuck you up too, and like
Yep.
you know the police use dogs
Oh,
to
yeah.
get people. We
Yeah.
use dogs for that purpose. But like I just figure like a cougar is way scarier.
Oh,
than
yeah.
a wolf, is where I'm going.
well,
A
with
cougar
this.
is raw aggression. A
The-
dog
at,
or
at least with a cougar, like dogs, the reason I would not want to be eaten by wolves, and here's my main reason: cougars, they'll snap your neck instantly. You're
Yeah.
just dead. Lights
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, but I want a fighting chance. See, I
But
want to
here's-
live the rest of my damn life.
Spencer, here's the thing.
But what if I
wolf-
have like, what if I have a
wolves-
weapon or something?
It doesn't matter. If wolves
What if I have
get
a
you,
torch?
if
They'll
wolves
rip you
get
up.
you,
they'll
Yeah.
rip you
they
up.
eat you from your asshole
Yeah.
first.
Ugh.
So
It's
you're
not
saying,
a pleasant
you're saying that
death.
they're motherfuckers.
Yeah,
as
they are.
opposed to-
As opposed to, I would much prefer a mountain lion because then I'm just dead.
I guess.
Yeah, and the
but-
cougar will come at you from behind. Like that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say is that a wolf pack will surround you.
Yeah.
You're gonna know
Yeah.
that your death is coming for
Yeah.
you when there's 12 wolves around you or something. But a cougar will wait until you are not looking at it, and it'll just go for the back of your neck. They'll literally hide in a tree and drop on you. Like a little drop bear.
I'm really glad you got away from that cougar.
I did get away from it. I'm glad that I can be here
Or-
to talk about ghost
or
stories.
a spooky ghost.
Yeah.
It's very
Spooky ghost.
possible
Exactly.
it's a
It
spooky
could have
ghost.
been. And so that's what I was going that's where I was going with that is that
Yeah.
I don't know whether that was some
Right.
sort of predator or whether that was some sort of, spooky presence.
Some sort of otherworldly
you know,
specter.
Exactly.
The thing that the one that terrifies me the most out of like ghosts in general, like seeing stuff, this, that, and the other, shadow people. They scare the
Okay,
heck
so
out of me.
what is a shadow person?
Explain this to me, Brett,
It's-
because I don't know.
Okay, so it's a type of supernatural being,
Okay.
and from my understanding, they're not human spirits. So who's to say what they are? I don't know.
Sure.
But they look exactly like your shadow, or they look like a shadow, and they'll just walk through a screen or like a scene or something like that, and you'll see them. And I remember distinctly because I used to watch old ghost hunting shows like when I was a child with my dad. So this is I've loved this stuff forever. And there was one on shadow people, and it scared the heck out of me because sometimes you can see like eyes too.
Yeah.
It'll just be a black mass with eyes. like glowing. They're not like normal eyes. They're like glowing eyes. So it's
So
like
they're like the demon from The Conjuring.
like, but who's to say though? Because
Yeah.
they don't have 3D proportions. They're 2D like our shadow.
Sure.
That's why they're so scary to me.
Right.
Because they can just show up out of nowhere.
Or they could be an elaborate construct of our imagination.
Or
That's
that.
also very possible too. The way the light hits something, you just there's a few things that when I see like night vision,
Yeah.
because if I'm not mistaken,
Are they supposed to? So let's say you have like a thermal camera or night vision or something.
They
Are you
do-
supposed to be able to see them? Do they have like a heat?
so they
signature or
they don't
something?
have heat, but the thing
Okay.
is in a lot of these videos they have these specialized cameras that pick up motion, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll make like a stick figure. So you'll see like a
What are those
stick.
called? It's like a
I-
vector camera or
I think
something
so.
like that. And I've seen them before. They use them for all kinds of. They're not specifically designed for ghost hunting or
course.
anything, but it's some sort of like a vector-based camera, and it like draws lines.
Yeah, it'll
based
draw
on
a,
where there's
a line
motion.
based on
Oh,
like.
okay.
So you'll see when you're watching these videos, you'll see like full people walk through frames and stuff like that. Like to me, that's almost scarier than if you just see like a little head pop up or something
Yeah.
like that. Because then at least with the head or something, you can make out a figure. With that, it's unknown. That's why it's so. The unknown is what's scary.
Totally.
Yeah, it's all unknown though.
Yeah.
It is. There's no
Yeah.
science to this.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, not to mention, like, are demons real? Are, you
I
know,
don't know.
do ghosts be real? Do demons be real? Who knows? We can go
Do
on
the
so many.
paranormal be real?
We're gonna find out.
We have so many tangents we can go down. We have so many stories. I would love to get into some exorcism stories.
For sure.
You know, like
I'd love
just
to talk to some people who maybe like your friend, for instance, who's like, as you say, sensitive to this sort of thing. That's
Yeah.
not something that I know a whole lot about. It would be good to have somebody like that, whether
Yes.
it be your friend or somebody else. It would be nice to have people that do that sort of thing. It would be nice to have people who have crazy experiences, whether they have a haunted house or they've been, they've done some ghost hunting. We want to talk to all kinds of people at some point.
Yes.
Anyway, we want to touch all the bases.
yeah, I think that'll be fun because, like we talked about when we first decided to start this.
Yeah, yeah.
There's endless possibilities for us to go down, and
There
I
are.
am so excited to hear
Yeah.
about them.
It's gonna be a good time.
Like, there's the thing is, it's just, there's not just Ouija boards to communicate. We can look up stuff on how to communicate with ghosts. Hey, if this becomes crazy enough, we can even go on a ghost hunt.
That would be very
That
cool.
would
be
I'd
fun.
love to do that. My dear wife is the toughest person that I know. I've done a little bit of urbex in the past, and by urbex, I didn't know that term at the time.
Urban
See, I spend a lot
exploration.
of time like watching videos of abandoned places and stuff like that. That really tickles my fancy, and there's kind of a crossover with the people that do that and the people that also do ghost hunting. My wife and I love watching those videos,
Sure.
and doing all that sort of stuff. We met in high school. We did a little bit of exploration. We went into, I guess the best example of this sort of thing that I can do, that I can think of, is we went to this abandoned house that used to be where Tim Hortons is now, in the neighborhood you used to live in.
Sure.
And I went with another buddy and his girlfriend, and my girlfriend, now wife, Lauren. We went to this spooky old house that apparently was a foster home. And it
Oh,
was
wow.
like a 12-bedroom house with a pool outside
This
and a
sounds-
full-size bar and all
Sure.
kinds of crazy stuff. It was massive, but
A bar at a foster home.
yeah, a little bit
Interesting.
weird, but who knows? Maybe they were serving juice or Dr. Pepper or something
Yeah.
like that. Anyway, it was a really interesting spot, but I found that going into the unknown, and I spent much more time in this house as time went by. It wasn't
Sure.
my only trip to this house, but that first time and in the pitch black, the only person who had the balls to go in and really just be like, oh, here I am, and wasn't like looking over their shoulder going, oh my god, like, we shouldn't be here, there are ghosts, or maybe scary people who are just squatting. So my wife was
boy.
the only one who wasn't completely chicken shit.
Sure.
I can admit to the fact that I was frightened, and I did have a Louisville Slugger with me as well.
Wow.
I was ready to hit anything.
You know what?
It's a good thing you didn't hit your wife.
It is good that I didn't hit her. She might not be my wife had I hit her with the bat.
Yeah. The thing I also find interesting, and I totally almost zoned out on it. I'm
Okay,
sorry,
good.
But
I'm
I
glad
got
you
it.
didn't.
It came
That's
back.
okay.
It came back. Do you ever find certain places almost have a weird energy to
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that might be part of the ghost stuff too. Is just places with weird energies. Like, you know, you don't inherently think of a hospital having a weird energy, but you gotta also think people are born and
And
die
they die,
there
yeah.
every
for sure.
single day, and I always feel uncomfortable going into them.
And if there is like an afterlife or some sort of like pool of human consciousness that exists outside of the physical realm, that place would have a strong connection to it.
Yeah.
The Buddhists think that all humans are one entity. Like we're all just one massive consciousness manifesting itself again and again in the universe. And that would explain, like, I mean, explain, but that, like, they also think that there are physical places that are connected to this sort of, like,
Right.
conscious being, this spirit that we all are a part of. And that would explain why some places like that are connected to, birth and death
So like hospitals,
hospitals,
maybe a
like,
graveyard.
yeah,
Graveyards are
exactly,
a
like
big
a
one.
graveyard.
See,
Yep.
and-
Or like a foster home where perhaps children were mistreated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, that would immediately, when you said foster home, I'm like, that I would not walk into that place.
I think-
just
Somewhere where
based
there
on
are
the
some-
feelings.
and I didn't
alone.
know that at the time, but it
Yeah.
felt weird. And
Yeah.
our other buddy Andrew, who you were all
Oh, yeah.
good buddies with, him and I spent a good amount of time dicking around in that house.
Sure.
And one time early on, before people had really, because it got before it got demolished, like there were definite stages of that house where it was
Sure.
like in much better shape than it was at the end. But early on, we went in there one time. And, of course, like religious imagery and stuff like that, whether you buy into that, whether whether you're into that or not, there is some sort of an inherent tie to like, the afterlife or the spirit world with that sort of stuff. And we went into the furnace room where there were still boxes that had been left behind. And there were a bunch of crucifixes in there.
Wow.
Which was kind of interesting.
That's-
There were also binoculars and a few other things.
I think this sort of leads me into the sort of the spiritual, supernatural realm of things, but I think that people can leave like a presence behind,
like
Yeah.
almost like an energy.
like an energy, yeah. Like, and so you might get a feel of the history of a place when you walk in, and especially like human suffering, I feel really echoes
Yeah,
throughout,
absolutely.
like
Big
like,
time,
like
yeah.
if you're in a place where there was a lot of suffering, you feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
And you might not even know the things that have happened there, but you can sort of feel that something's wrong in that place. And I think that is sort of like, that would be my interpretation of do ghosts be real, is that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I think
for
that's
sure.
probably real.
And going back to the story, do you have any stories we haven't asked you?
Yeah, we
Yes.
haven't asked you.
And actually, to top this all off and to be the third story here, as I just stumble all over my words, I think when thinking about places that are connected to this kind of spirit realm, of course, I'd mentioned graveyards.
Sure.
When I was younger, I felt a higher degree of connection to this sort of stuff. And that would be probably largely influenced by the fact that I used to be in a bowling team when I was a little kid. I always kind of like my parents, I think, have some level of belief in the supernatural. The home that I grew up, to jump all over the place, the home that I grew up in was kind of, I always found it spooky, and whether that just be because I was a little kid and the basement was dark,
Which is as a kid, that's naturally a scary place. You mentioned
Yeah.
earlier,
You should be afraid of the basement.
Yeah.
You should be afraid of the dark.
I
Because
was afraid of the dark
a
because the
it's-
unknown is in
Yes.
the dark.
It's a survival instinct
Yeah.
for sure. And you mentioned earlier how you bolt up the stairs, man. I did the same thing
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
I was a kid. At my grandma's house, or just even in my dark, unfinished basement as a kid. You
secret
gotta
time.
just bolt up the
Launch up
stairs.
there.
Yeah, you
Secret
gotta.
time, I still do it.
Sometimes I still do it. I'll admit to it. Most of the time I don't, but whether that may actually be. Sometimes I have to stop myself from doing it because I'm like, I'm being
funny.
insane. I'm a homeowner. I am a homeowner at this point. In my life.
That's the-
I'm too old to be doing
That's
this
the
shit.
adult, rational part of your brain telling you everything's okay.
Yeah.
Even though maybe it isn't.
Oh man, but anyway, that
Yeah.
house. My uncle lived in that house. Like the house that I grew up in was my mom's childhood home.
Okay.
My uncle died in 1977. He drowned at Waskesiu. He was
Okay.
19 years old. He had just had a bike accident, like a motorcycle accident.
Oh.
And the working theory on that, I'm not exactly sure. It's not really my story to own or anything like that. But at that point in time, people didn't really know a whole lot about head injuries
Yeah.
or concussions in particular. the idea is basically, from what I understand, he was at a party at Waskesiu. He wandered away. He maybe to be by himself because it was quiet and was potentially sitting on a dock or something like that. And because he'd had this concussion and, you know, maybe he was drinking, something like that.
Yeah.
That's not anything that anybody knows about. He might have just passed out and
or maybe
he fell into the water and he was not. I think, I don't know if this is true or not. I'm not in particularly close contact with my parents at this point in time, but I seem to have some recollection of the fact that his friends may have heard him screaming or something like that. I may have completely fabricated that. I don't know.
it's hard to remember childhood stories.
But from what I understand, he may have screamed, he may not have, but in any case, he slipped away, and I think they found his body on the shore the next day or something like that. Nobody could find him in the water that night.
Right.
He just passed. But anyway, I always had that story connected with the fact that his childhood bedroom was a storage room deep in our basement.
Okay.
And it had all kinds of weird artifacts from his life just still down there. And I always kind of felt like I was being watched. And I wondered whether... I don't think it was a sinister thing or anything like that, but I always kind of would believe maybe that he still resided there in some sense. And just the idea that was a possibility was frightening to me.
Yeah. I understand that, though. Like I was saying earlier about how, you know, places and objects can be connected to your life. There
was some negativity there. And my grandmother as well, who had breast cancer and passed away in I think she died in 87 or 88. There was a lot of time that she spent in that house in hospice care. There was a lot of grief and despair that had taken part that had happened in that house, and I felt like the building had some memory of that. So the basement always felt particularly weird. So I kind of grew up with that. And then, so I always felt like maybe I could sense that sort of thing as a little kid. That was just some little kid stuff that I had going on. And I was on a bowling team with my brother and another little kid, and the mother of the other kid who was on that bowling team was a psychic. Okay. And from what I understood, like, we'll put a hard quotations on that, because I don't know that I believe in any of that, and I tend to not believe in that.
Yeah,
I really hate Teresa Caputo more than just about anything else.
I don't know who that is. I don't. Oh,
she's on like a TLC show, and I really don't like. What was his name? Crossing Jordan. That
honestly, man, like
that guy who did cold readings and like would be like, I'm sensing a female.
I hate it. I hate that
sort of stuff.
So predatory.
Cold readings, exactly. They're preying on people that want closure
for sure. And I don't know,
which is wrong.
I don't know whether this woman did. I don't know that she did cold readings or anything like that. I don't want to smudge her name because she's not somebody that I know in any sense. But one of my parents told me at one point that, because I think they were talking about that sort of stuff as you would with somebody who is a psychic as a profession, and I think she had somehow or another dropped a hint that she could tell that I was sensitive to it, which to me that leads me down a scary path of like, was I as a child sensitive to that, or was I just fitting to be molested real bad by a lady?
There's a fine correlation between being sensitive and being molestable.
I don't know. I wasn't that cute.
Amongst the same.
I wasn't that cute, a little buck-toothed kid, but
that's exactly why you're easy to molest. No one would believe you.
You're right. Nobody would believe. Nobody wants to molest this kid.
No one wants to molest an ugly kid. Come on now.
Anyway, I've gone on quite the tangent. The story that I was actually angling for. Anyway, I was trying to build the basis of, I used to believe in this stuff really heavily, and I've kind of moved away from that. It seemed more hokey and silly as I've aged, but also it still exists in the back of your mind. You always have that sort of stuff. A story that both Brett and I share is in grade 8, and like I talked about this stuff a whole lot more. I was interested in elementary school and this sort of stuff, and I would talk about it.
Yeah,
we would talk about it quite a bit.
Yeah,
we went on a trip to the Pioneer Cemetery by Prairieland Park in our town.
Sure.
There's an old cemetery from like I think the late 1800s where a bunch of people are buried. I think they actually had to relocate a bunch of the graves because the ground shifted. And
it's like kind of right by the river.
It's right on the river
like
bank.
right on the. So my guess is
erosion or something.
Erosion.
Yeah.
In any case, we were there on a trip, and to not drag this out a whole lot longer, some little dickhead who was our buddy and another kid were goofing off in the cemetery, and Brett and I, who believed very heavily in the paranormal at that time, or at least in just, you know, respecting that
graves,
place.
Yeah.
especially because it's like a solemn place.
Yeah,
for sure.
You know, any graveyard is a solemn place.
Yeah.
We were just
So-
prancing around trying not to step on plots and being very like, oh, respect the place. You know,
Yeah.
this is. We were very much respectful of the place anyway, but these other two little dickheads had noticed that one of the headstones on a plot was kind of loose,
Okay.
and they were goofing around and rocking with it and like trying to scare people and being like, oh, they knocked over a headstone.
Oh.
Yeah.
And when they knocked over the headstone, and this is something that I can't explain, and I think the teacher was visibly shaken by it as well. When they knocked that headstone over, this was a completely calm day. There was no wind, there was nothing like that. The wind started tearing through the trees. There was like
Wow.
this loud gust as soon as they'd done it, but the tops of the trees weren't moving.
Yeah,
or
it was
anything.
just
Wow.
through the bottom.
And we have like, there
and
are
it,
more
and it went from a nice sunny day to just clouds.
like overcast and frightening in that
Yes.
moment. And the teacher walked over because obviously you have these little, I think we had a tour guide with us or something
no,
like that.
it was just the teacher.
Was it just the
Yeah.
teacher? In any case, he had a lesson plan based on that.
Yeah.
But you take a class full of little 36 dickhead grade 8s to a
Yeah.
place, and they push over a headstone, you're going to be ticked off. So
Yeah.
he like runs over there and is like, you guys need to put that back right now. And they put it back up. The second they put that headstone back up, it all ceased.
Yep.
Wow.
Like, and it just
Instantly.
immediately became a normal
Wow.
day again. And I would say that that's probably my best
Wow.
and most convincing experience. And it's not just us that can even attest to that. Like
Wow.
a
was
lot
a
of our friends
classroom
that we
Wow.
still have kicking about
Yeah.
could like testify to
Wow.
the fact that was
See,
spooky.
see, this is a good ghost story. That's
Yeah.
a good ghost
Yeah,
story.
that one
That's
is
good.
like
That makes my stupid bookshelf story look
no.
pathetic.
See, but that's fun because it's like, is it my grandma just playing
Yeah.
a trick on me,
Yeah.
or is it like why is it always like this?
Yeah, that's fascinating.
It was wild.
Yeah.
And, like,
So weird.
There's nothing
That's
that
crazy.
either of us could do to debunk that.
Yeah.
Either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
Like, was that just something that was going to happen anyway?
could
Was
have been.
was that just the weather
it's
patterns
very
that day
real,
being
yeah.
weird?
I mean,
Because weird
what-
shit has happened,
Who's to
or
say?
was that in connection to a restless spirit who was very upset that you just defaced
It
his
was
grave?
synchronous for
Yeah.
sure. Like
Yes.
whatever had happened, it felt like more than coincidence.
Wow. Yeah.
It was very frightening, but now weather I should stop saying doobie. It is fun though, because the name of our show is
Do Ghosts
Do
Do
Ghosts
Ghosts
Be
Be
Real. But weather does change sporadically.
Oh, yeah.
It changes quickly. You can sit out on your
Yep.
deck or on a patio somewhere, and you can look up, and things can very
Yep.
quickly change. But this was so abrupt.
So
yeah.
sudden. Hey?
And the fact that as soon as it was put back into place, just nothing.
yeah.
Nothing. Just
Like-
like the snap of a finger.
That is one heck of a coincidence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly why it's like
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And like from that point on, and if I remember correctly, we both just felt physically ill.
Right.
Yeah, it was
Like,
like
it
and
was-
whether we could have just been scared.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
we
very possible.
We may have gotten a little bit more dramatic with it. We
Very
may have
sure.
sold it as at the time. We may have sold it as we were sensitive to the paranormal.
Yeah.
That may have been a fun, cool thing to do to get a bunch of attention.
Hey.
Or we could have been very frightened. But I can say that even if we had hammed it up, I was convinced.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was fully convinced
At
that
that-
we were in touch with something,
Right.
and it scared the shit out of me. And
Yeah.
it made
And-
the rest of the day very weird.
You know,
Yeah.
I find a lot of the people that don't fully believe or don't believe at all
Yeah.
is they're terrified of it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think that's what it is because it's
Yeah.
like it's so unknown. And what do humans? Well, it comes back to fear.
yeah, for sure.
Humans don't like the unknown because it's fear.
Yeah.
Right.
And all of us feel that, like
Yeah.
whether it's fear of something that you're gonna do or say that's gonna make someone
Yeah.
upset, or
I think at the end of the day, humans just don't like to feel insecure.
no, exactly.
You know, we like to know that we're at the top of the food chain and that nobody's come to get us.
Absolutely.
And a predatory ghost that's two-dimensional with piercing yellow eyes sort of
Here's the thing
throws
about
that
that
into
that
stark
part
contrast.
was not two-dimensional, completely
Oh,
three-dimensional,
okay.
looked like a human being.
In any case, whatever the fuck it is, we don't like it.
I don't like
Yeah.
it. It's junk.
We're gonna need to create weapons to combat it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
some
yeah.
electromagnetic cannons or
I
something.
don't know what to do about that, but hey, well, I mean, we've done.
Yeah, we're
Almost
getting
an
pretty,
hour
we're
here,
pretty close
and-
to
Yeah.
an hour here at this point. Hey, I think this has been a pretty good introductory episode.
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we told some fun stories, introduced ourselves a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, This has been Do Ghosts Be Real. I'm Spencer.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Simon, and we're looking forward to talking to you guys again soon.
So check in next week or whenever that be. Whenever we drop this, check in next week. We'll be back.
Yes, sir.
What happened there?